All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, round 3 edition at the Cognizant here, going through all things PGA Showdown. Going to be talking DraftKings. Was going to go and wait a little bit longer, but got the news we needed. It just came out. They're going to go back out first thing in the morning. For those that don't know, the round was suspended. There's some guys still out there. We'll talk about that. We'll scroll through, look who's down on the cut line that we're waiting on. Jimmy Stanger, our guy, we've been talking about him all week. He's got an 8-footer that he needs to make the cut. So Hoop will be sweating that, I'm sure, and many others in the community with the jokes, of course, of Jimmy Stanger getting steamed up to a cool 0.4% this week. But more to go through. We're going to do it a little bit different today. I'll show you guys what I mean in a minute when I get there. But other news and the big news that we're waiting on, I just wanted to see how they were going to go out in the morning. It is going to be threesomes off of one. So once they get everything rolling again in the morning and they go out, they're going to go out threesomes off of one. I'll look at the weather. I'll break all that down. We'll go through. Going to go through stats and show you guys some of that, and then flip it over to, look at the pricing as we go with what that looks like versus pulling it up in the solver when we don't fully have who's in, who's out. I'll go to there at the beginning and start with that. But let me know in the chat who crushed your dreams. I think I got a big idea of it, but I saw already. So less than 5%, it looks like, for 6 of 6 this week in most of the main tournaments. Other stuff I saw, just the wave advantage, AM, PM, ended up having a decent advantage over a stroke. So I like PMAM. I also liked stacking both sides. We talked about even on the chat, there was 2 real ways to look at it. If you went PMAM, you were thinking if it did bake out or if it did get extra windy in the afternoon on top of the cut sweat on Friday afternoons, it could go in your favor. But if you wanted them in what we knew were going to be the very best conditions, it was the AM on day one. We took advantage of it in Showdown. Our guy, I Love Rory, I think he eventually got his money. It took them a while to pay it out after the delay even of knowing it wasn't going to end till this morning. But yeah, Berger, Seabez, Steven Yeager, like just lots of guys. And then my guy, Greg, Bud Cauley week, who knew? A couple people in the chat liked him over in the Discord at SHIPIT Nation, but people on Parker Cootie, he's doing just as good. You kind of could have set him up both. Shout out to Razor Sharp, first in. Going to get it loaded up here, though, for you guys. Just give me 1 second, see what we're at. Got to start with a couple quick things, get them out of the way, and then we'll dive right into it like always. But just so you guys see it here, one quick note. We had a couple people ask about this. Just didn't have the time today to go through it, so we're going to let it go for one more night on the giveaway. So tomorrow, we'll announce that it's a Saturday. Everybody's around or can get to their computer, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and see it there. But if you go over on X at ToeTagginTambo, just scroll down and find the giveaway. All it is basically just a lot of the stuff in the chat that we see every single day coming into the SHIPIT Nation Discord is around goals, mindset, bankroll management, contest selection. I see a lot of people say, oh, another bad week for me. How many bad weeks did you have? Oh, it's the second in a row. I mean, this is just standard stuff for PGA DFS. You got to fight through it. Hope for these weeks like Hoop and I and other members have been having throughout the season, the swing season, all of that, but you're going to have bad weeks. But this really talks a lot, especially in this part, from the goals mindset right up to sort of the 20 max MME. Even if you just want to go in and check on this, if you're a member, you already get access to this. If you're not a member, you can get into the giveaway. We're actually going to give away 3 monthly memberships to the site where you get this, the NBA course, the NFL one, plus all the coverage for the other sports. Somebody asked me that today, just everything else that's going on. What do you guys have? There's going to be projections for all the sports that are running that we carry, the 8 major sports, but obviously NFL over, college football not back yet. So NBA, even with the no late swap tonight, we've got the projections, the ownership, there's showdown coverage, all the core reports and slate plans, but some cool tools as well with the ceiling rankings and the correlation sheet with injuries and things like that. We've got PGA right now, full speed, the stone's still going up. I'm going to show you guys that later because I think the way I do this show will make you want to see why it's good to have the stone. It's a way you can apply it and bring it across, and I'll show you guys more on that when we get there. But all the stuff for the main slate, MMA, full swing right now, just a ton of MMA stuff going on. UFC 299 coming up soon. I know there's one this weekend already, but UFC 299 I think is coming up soon as well. Big pay-per-view again. So just lots of MMA on the go there. I see other sites are adding it. That's awesome. MMA is growing, but this is included with your membership at SHIPIT Nation. NHL, full fling right now, all in. And then MLB is coming back here. I believe it's the end of March. NASCAR, again, we do Cup Series. So to be clear on that one, but there's the Stone. We have a Stone, the core report, the slate plan, projections, and ownership. So you can check all that out. If you want to check out the education courses, they're over here. And then one last quick note, if you didn't get the giveaway tomorrow and it doesn't go your way, you can go to the site and just put in your email and sign up and get the Showdown mini course. So if you want Hoop and I talking about PGA Showdown, you can definitely go and do that. Also, right now, if you go to the site, PGA or main memberships, doesn't matter for all access or not, you can get 15% off any membership plan, and it stays with you as long as you stay with it. So if you take this and use it on the $39 monthly PGA membership, drops it down, you will continue to get that renewal price. Same thing if you buy the annual, it renew next year for that. I mean, less than $1 a day for that. And then the last thing before we hop into it, I'll show you guys other stuff here, is $58 a month. If you're PGA only, you can upgrade. So just let me know if you guys need that. If you don't see it in your account on the site, you can go up to the very top under account, see about upgrading. Annual though, $509. I just mentioned it. Like other sites will get like MMA, for example, or they have NASCAR only, or whatever it might be. These are typically $200 to $500 type dollars that you're having to go and spend. This is $509, but you're going to get all 8 of the major sports for the entire year. So if you want to use that, you guys can check it out. Go use code HOOP15. Let's hop into today. I'm going to pull up a couple things. I'm going to start on the Data Golf website. I know a lot of people, wonder what site I'm using as I'm going through this stuff. How am I finding out the information and breaking it all down? Going to do a bit of a emphasis on that today, just so you guys can see it. One thing I hate about certain optimizers and things that you do when you're working within them is if you don't have the cut yet for round 3, which you don't, as you can see, you can sort this one here. It shows there's still guys out on 16, 17, 18. This is the holes they're through. So what they have left remaining, I mentioned my guy Stanger. He's got the par 5, 18th remaining. But if you go to your shot tracker, you'll be able to see it's an 8-foot and change putt that he has left. So this is a good spot to look at it. This is where I would start it at and then go from here to the Stone, which I'll show you guys after, something you can get over at shipitnation.com. But just to check it out, let's go down to the bottom here for a second and see the cuts already locked in at 2. We know that. So all these guys are already locked in. I just talked about Stanger, and that's why it's important. If he makes that 8-footer, gets him to 2 under, and he makes the cut. Pretty obvious stuff. I didn't go look up Ryu to see where he was at, but just another guy. This is the guy. These are the guys that hurt people. Bezadenhout, McCarthy, Pendrith. What did Svensson end up doing here? I'm just going to look it up quickly because I can. Svensson. Yeah, he was horrible. I thought like that could be a nice little pivot there if you went to the other Canadian for $100 more, and it still did not work out because Pendrith finished at 1 under. Rasmus 1 under. Who else? Jaeger, we already talked about him. Bad. Luke List, just no good down the stretch. So he was a guy that hurt us. Who else? Anybody else? Don't see it. Some of these other guys won't get through anyway. I saw earlier, I think he already WD'd. Yeah, it showed up. So Chandler Phillips was out there on his last hole as well, but he was already +1, I believe. So there's no chance to make the cut for him. So he WD'd. So not really much that I see that we're waiting on that you're going to be super excited about here. Like, if, could you play one of these 2 guys tomorrow morning and just hope and see what it looks like and see how it goes? Yes, but I don't think it's going to be any crazy leverage or anything like that based on that. Let me quickly check the weather just on my other monitor here so we see it. But again, mentioning it, that's the news. Why I wanted to wait for it is we are getting them going off in threesomes off of 1. There's not split tees or anything like that. It looks like what's on the screen here now, 68 guys, if not a little bit more based on Stanger and Rio. But I think Rio's actually in the bunker on 18. So we'll see how he goes and gets out of there. But just to look at it again, who else do we have? Weather looks like 7 to 10 miles an hour throughout the day. A little bit more wind first thing in the morning. So the one interesting note will be obviously that these guys will play. So the best golfers so far will be playing later. And it looks like the wind gusts could die down a little bit, but there's also a little bit of precipitation in the morning. So like, I'm just not going with that today. I don't see it as much today. Even I think it was 0.5 exact before we get to the final stuff just to see. Cole was still a disaster. Yeah, I mean, Cole was just exactly what we said yesterday on the show. Like, he's super risk reward type play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies. This is where I'm counting them up. He left 2 of the par 5s out there. He actually gained on approach, even with some big losses on certain holes. And then the putter was there. So again, it's all relative too. That's why I mean, people are ridiculous, like the stuff they say and don't quite understand how Showdown works. He was basically the exact same as Russell Henley. Russell Henley had 5 birdies on the day, no streak, no eagle, nothing special to write home about. It was, what was the delta? Like 20% in the difference or something between the two of them. So again, people don't understand Showdown. They think it matters what happened in round 1. It has absolutely nothing. What matters is what happened in round 1 so that we can make a decision going into round 2. That's part of the process, is knowing that. It's, you know, just because somebody has a great round like Max Greyersman, and we know his story that he grew up there, he's played it 100 times, all that. Let's see if he shoots 5 under or better tomorrow. I'm not even sure where he's at on the last hole as of right now, and give it a try. But the day before, it was just 4 birdies, nothing special, nothing serious. Go back to it here. Gained it all around the green, gained it all putting. Oh, there's no way he can have a good round the next day. You can't play him in round 2. He sucks. Oh, wait, gains almost 5 strokes on approach, has a huge round, and has even more, leaves even more, a streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 birdies. I don't even know where he is on the par 5. So again, people just don't understand it, and that's why there's an edge still, and a bigger edge. You talk to a lot of pro players, guys that play full-time or anything like that at all these live finals and whatnot, they'll tell you their ROI is much better in Showdown than it is on Classic Slate, where there's so much variance. It's hard to account for the streaks, the last-minute gust of wind, the water hole on 17 that cost you the week, all those guys that we're talking down here that cost you your tournament. So your 6-6s, your whatever. So my point would be, again, we will embrace that. We'll continue to talk about it out loud and let people continue to talk shit about it on the opposite side. It has nothing to do with that. Eric Cole basically did the same thing as Russell Henley today, but everybody said Cole was a terrible play and there's no way you could play him. It didn't end up mattering, but it's saying that the two guys priced at the exact same price point, $100 apart, everyone was playing Henley for the morning wave and all this other stuff versus taking a shot on Cole. I think he ended up 10 or 11% or something. So either way, I digress, just to point it out so people know that that is something that you want to take into consideration when you're looking at it. And again, going back to the stone, I now have the updated version because yesterday we're using last week's. This is from today for round 2. Look at Eric Cole here. We know he was a high leverage play. We actually thought he was going to come in closer to 14%. I think he ended up coming in 11 or 12, unless in some of the higher dollar, smaller field stuff, you got him at like 8 or 9. And again, not preaching what he did. It was just 5 birdies, whatever. There's other guys. Fitzpatrick crushed him. Tom Kim crushed him. There's lots of ways you can think about this. It's more of a learn from this. There's 4 slates a week, round 1 through round 4. There's like 40 golf events on the year. There's a lot of Showdown slates, and a lot of what you're learning you could take away and use in the future on these other slates. Most people would just see this, give him the old, or he could, and see what he could do. But if you look, he had a chance for everything to really bounce back in his favor, and he'd historically been pretty good in round 2. So on the stone, it lists everything that we're basically looking at over here, but then it does a better job of taking it in. I'll refer back to it maybe a couple more times just to show you, but you start to see it all in one place. You've got your DK pricing, you've got our ownership, you've got the tee times, you've got projection, ceiling, what their approach looked like. The true approach is basically taking out some of these one-off strokes or things here and there that you don't really want to account for, like we talked about with certain guys who have it. Let me just see one thing. Sorry, guys. Yeah, nothing we can do about that. No late swap tonight, NBA. So I was just looking to see if there was more news that came out in NBA. There was, but there's nothing I could do to change that. So either way, just to note it here, back to it, this is a way to see all of it in one place, but the true approach will take out some of the outlier scores. Or, again, maybe I can show it here. Who was the guy I was just using for this? Maybe it was Greyersman? No, it wasn't Greyersman. Who was the guy I was just talking about that we could have looked up here? Let me just see if I see one somewhere. So if you're going through these guys, this is why sometimes I'll say like there was some really bad holes. So like a guy like Victor Perez today, a lot of people will just see the short game and say it wasn't even that good of an approach day. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, almost 12, like almost 12 of the holes he was fine on approach. And he cost himself a stroke and a half almost between 1.32 on this, or he would have looked a lot better over here. And again, people just don't deep dive or dig into this. So hopefully this version of this week will help you guys out. If everybody misses out on the round 3 show, they won't see this stuff. But just to note it, I think that's kind of the angle here, where when doing this takes a long time to go through it all and to find out what you want to do, versus when you have the stone, it's literally all in one place. It's got the golfers, the prices, all this stuff, but then you could start to see their expectations for what's going to happen in the next round. This would say round 3 today. You get their approach stats here in one place. You get what they were putting like, and you can start to make some decisions. And then there's been extra work behind the scenes put in to come up with some pivots, some sleepers, some high leverage based on their price, cash options, GBP, high upside. I mean, this is the best tool in all of PGA DFS, and you get it when you sign up for SHIPIT Nation. Again, sometimes people try and confuse, like, oh, I'm not sure if there's value. I'm not sure when I'm doing this, that, and the other. And say, all you're doing is selling your stuff. This is something that you could definitely use. If you're watching this show, even if you like this part that I'm showing you about data golf, and you could just go over here and go to the interactive tournament stats and go to live stats and get access to it, this does nothing for you. You now got to spend probably hours tonight going through and digging in to all of this stuff, or you could just have the stone, have it all in one place. And then you wonder why these logos are all flying up at the top every week in Showdown. That is part of it. It's not even cockiness. It's saying when you can save time, have it all in one place. That's the key, and why I wanted to show you guys this today. So the way we'll do it is quick. I'm not going to spend all day on here going through it. Again, we know we can see with this leaderboard. I think this is the best way to do it, is to go down and sort of have some stuff. If you guys have guys that we want to check on, like right here, my guy Charlie says Riley. Let me just pull it up that way. It's better off. And look at Riley. And this is probably, maybe Charlie's take. Maybe Charlie has looked ahead. But just to note, Davis Riley had himself a day. Solid on approach, solid putting. Everything else off the tee was good, but let's dig in. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies. Left the par 5 out there. Bogey-free round. When I say stuff too, like, again, this is all, butterfly effect stuff too, where it's like, I'll say, oh, he could have had a streak here. Could have had a streak here, etc. Of course, if he gets this one, he may not get this one. There's variance. There's all these other factors. What I look at, though, is like, if there was something really bad happened here, and then, it's like, missed the putt, lost 0.6 strokes putting, means he missed a very short putt here, and it would have been something that would have helped either way for a streak. But either way, to me, I see no crazy outliers. He did have one hole that gained him a lot of that approach, but it's the same thing backwards of what we talked about earlier, where if you took this away, it would still be just fine, and his approach would still be pretty solid across the board, 1.46 or something if you want to run this out, or just take away one off it or something. My point being, this is how you can deep dive and dig into it. So that's Riley. But going back down through, don't think I'm going to be chasing the Bud Cauley round. He's playing great right now, and that's fine. But just to note it, again, usually it's hard to back up these big rounds. Same with like a Garrett Higo. One guy, Eckroad, who's looked pretty good and fits the narrative that we're setting things up for, right? We got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 birdies on round 1. You click to round 2, it's only 4 birdies. But again, one of the par 5s left out there, no real special streaks. The approach was very solid across the board. The holes he's losing it on, very little. One big gain right here. But even if you can't take it away. He earned it. He made that shot. It's one great shot. But even if you took it away, it wouldn't kill you here. And he still wasn't great with the putter. So Eckroat would be the first one I would look at and say, and we're not going to do it all again. If you guys have some you want me to look up and throw them in there, by all means. But Eckroat 7,300 on tomorrow's slate. I can tell you that a lot of people that go to this are just going to look at this stuff. So you're going to see interesting ownership on guys like Greyersman, Mathieu, Pavon. You're going to see it. Parker Cootie, maybe. I'll look at him in a second. Eckroat. And this is another way you can sort it and look at it, where you just look at it by the strokes gained approach. This is what a lot of people do. They're going to go to Greyersman, of course, and probably for good reason. Dialed as could be on approach. Even with the huge gains, it's everywhere, right? There's no real losses on the front. There's no real crazy losses on the back. He made a bogey. That's where he lost it all with the putter. So he actually would probably have positive putting if you went and looked at this. And yeah, now Piano Man, shout out to Piano Man. That was incredible. We got the video for it too. And Damon, this ain't me. If you know me, and that's why James is so special, one of a kind, right? That, he's got the F counter. He's got it all figured out where you can play with it, play it against him for money, all of those factors. I just don't usually swear a lot, but it's fine. Like I love it. I love that everybody's different, and that's what they do. So to go to it here, I said pull up D-Tree. This is where you see it, right? Minus 4.7. And this is what people will say. Look at it. It's all right here. And that was the thing. I will show this now. Like, let's go back to this for a second, to our Eric Cole argument. Double down here. So round 1, everyone's saying this guy absolutely sucks. There's no way he could do anything in round 2. He lost 6 strokes on approach. He's a loser. You're an idiot if you play this guy. How could you do it? It's because you have to dig. You got to dig in deeper. You go back and dig into his round 1. Well, there's over a stroke and a half. That gets to 3. That gets to 4.5. That gets to 6. So it was 4 bad holes. and it hurts you overall and crushes you on classic slate. I put the airplane out for the guy yesterday because there's no way. And I know he's going down the street to the API, but the point being, he's not going to bounce back from that round. But in round 2, it doesn't matter. We don't need him to bounce back as the guy that's going to make the cut in Showdown round 2. We need him to go out and have a good round 2. And when it was, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, call these even, 7, 8, 9, 10. There was 10 pretty good holes. And what's the likelihood a guy like him is going to go out and lose 6 strokes on approach again? Not very likely. Bob, as my guy would say, look at this. Goes out and gains on approach. Again, wasn't needed, but just noted so you can see it. And that's what you're seeing with certain guys. You go to Dunlap today. Gained 3.5 on approach, but guess what? Over 2 is obviously from the hole-in-one. So congrats to Dunlap. Gets him a hole-in-one. Not that he did bad otherwise. It's just to show the hole-in-one is a big portion of why he's going to show up there. And that's why you'll see people say there's an edge, because not about what actually happens tomorrow. Nobody right now can get on any show, on any website, in your cores or whatever it might be, and tell you who's going to go out and crush tomorrow. You use tools like the Stone to get ideas, build lineups accordingly, and go from there. But to note it, it's really hard for these guys to back up these low rounds. Guys like Greyersman, guys like Parker Cootie, Matthew Pavon, maybe he can do it, right? That's a guy you could get back to. Dunlap, a lot of what he did will look really good on paper, but one thing that stands true, besides that, there was not much else to write home about. A lot of these bogeys would have counteracted it. Yes, he had an eagle today. Is that and that likely to happen? Neither really are likely to happen. So that would be the point on why it'd be fine just to move off of that guy. So that's what I'm really looking at when I'm doing it. Ekro, to me, stands out because round 2 was very solid across the board. Round 1 was very solid across the board, and he has capability of the high upside. So when you see someone like this, high upside, guess what? That's already going to be noted when you look at it in the Stone, when you see somebody like that has that option. So, Bud Colley would be a hell of a storyline. Obviously, he's got some stuff he bounced back from injury-wise and whatnot, but I definitely think there was people that liked him this week. I know that. It just he wasn't super popular overall. Used Stone for head-to-heads today, crushed, even though missed on 2 for DFS. Yeah, so just again, go back to using that tool. Let me see here. Keep going here. We already talked about Riley. I think he's fine. Maybe he's found a little bit of something here, but even again, 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies, didn't really do anything too special. Otherwise, that was in round 1 I'm looking at here, but if you click to round 2 today, we already looked at him, was pretty solid there. Our guy, OG John, was out at the course this week. He lives out there. And his caddy news that he was giving us was with Jacob Bridgman. Said he'd found something, but he wasn't sure how it would relay out to the course, but looks like it's done pretty well so far. Again, we'll see. He's got, 7, 8, 9 to go, and he's right there, 2 above the cut line, so you have to keep an eye on him tomorrow. Rico Hoey, same thing. But again, just 8 and 9 left, probably going to be okay. So keep an eye on some of these guys. Ryan Fox, someone I looked up earlier before we hopped on. Again, if you guys have names you want me to look up, throw them into the chat. I'll pull them up. But just to note here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, left 2 of the par 5s out there, and really bad on this one. Really solid on approach, where even though there is like a spike hole, a lot of good approach across the board. So I can go back to Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox is priced tomorrow at 7,100. So can definitely go back to him. Shout out to Camaro, like Camaro, but Camaro 1LE. Came in second in the 7.5K short game, $1 into 300. Huge ROI, 283.55. Couldn't have done it without you. Awesome stuff, man. What was the lineup, if you don't mind? Just let us know. Someone said Sig as we're going through it here. Shout out to Wins a Lot. Sig. Let's look up Sig. Yeah. So, again, you look at Sig. This is what I always do. How does he look? Looks pretty good. Solid overall with everything that mixed together. Gained on approach. Lost with the putter. Almost a stroke. Whatever, off the tee. You go and start deep diving it now. 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies. Left all 3 of the par 5s out there. So definitely going to have interest in him because there's opportunity here. And then, 1, 2, it kind of balanced out. I will say when you guys look at it like this, like I love seeing all these because it's all like there was some really solid holes on approach, a couple of spike holes, but it is balanced out by you're going to have some of these sort of bad holes or the similar on the opposite side. But again, yeah, definitely in on a guy like him. I see CT Pan, the Panimal getting brought up. So the Panimal was really good in round 1. If you remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birdies, a streak, left one of the par 5s out there. Really solid stats across the board. Nothing really spiking If you look here, just look, plus 0.02, but I call it a positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, minus 0.1, minus 0.2, who cares? Positive all through, minus 0.14, positive all through, minus 0.09. What's that? Very good on approach. Yeah, gained some with the putter, but let's go out and look at round 2 now and click it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, a streak, 4 in a row at one point. Maybe I can't remember if he started on the front or back, so we'll I can't say that for sure, but on the card, left the par 5 out there. And again, if you look, spike hole sort of erases that, but then also, there's 2 here that would just bounce it back. So kind of what you saw out of him in round 1. So I definitely think there would be a spot you could go back to him. Bud Cauley, really good golfer, had, I believe it was a serious car accident is what ended up happening to him. And then he was out of golf, bad back injury, couldn't come back. Eventually, I can't remember if he came back once or this was the second time around. But anyway, coming back from it and now sort of moving his way up again. He's already back into the mix. So will be a huge storyline that's talked about over the weekend. The further he goes and the more he gets into it. Just going through here now, Rory, you. So this is the lineup. Camaro Bro said Rory, you, Benny Ann, Higo, Eka, Caveria, and Cauley. So yeah, really nice lineup overall. 283.55 was a big boy score today. So congrats to you. Huge ROI on that tournament as well. Let's keep going down through, seeing some other guys that we're seeing here. Who are some of the guys we want to look at? I mean, this is disappointing too. When you go and see this, like this is one where you'll look, look at all the lineups you have with Bez, where he misses the cut by 1. All the birdies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Couple different sides of it, but approach was pretty solid across the board until one really bad hole that just completely cost him, right? That's really what it comes down to for a guy like him. Kevin Yu, I'd say he's capable of doing it again, and he can score, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 with an eagle. You look at it today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, taking care of the par 5s and just 1 bogey. Very solid though across the board. Look at these approach stats across there. 1, 2 kind of bad holes. But yeah, I think Kevin Yu is a guy that I would have some trust to up top over some of those other names that we saw. Alex Noren stands out. I'd like him to score a little bit more. What's Noren's price point tomorrow? So we're going to get Noren at 7,900, but we see what he can do. Like you go back to round 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies. Eagle was definitely, pretty solid for him. He had a couple really big spike holes. So it doesn't surprise me as much as I liked him today because his draw. But if you go look today, it wasn't a great day for him. But anytime someone that can score like he can leaves those 3 par 5s out there, this is an interesting one that I talk about with the streak opportunities because he lost almost a stroke with the putter on this hole. It could have probably been a lot better. You go to this hole, par 5, really forget this hole for a second. And this is why I would trust him a little bit more. 3 birdies. We know he can score. We saw it in round 1 and we know who he is. Can fit these conditions around this course. Again, remember, if scoring changes tomorrow and there's not as much scoring or anything like that because of the different pin placement or the weather we saw, the wind's picking up some overall, all of that, I think that's where you could find a guy like this. But really, this one is what killed him. 10 is the birdie hole. All week long, 10 has been, two rounds only, but since they moved it, we knew this was going to be the birdie hole. He left that one out there, still made back-to-back birdies, and still had a chance at the streak here and didn't get it. So there's more meat on the bone with a guy like Noren. Higo is, I never get him right. Awesome round 1, then comes out and does it again in round 2. Will he do it in round 3? Maybe. And then it just crushes me because I don't think I'll get there. Jake Knapp continues to play very well. What's his price tomorrow? Let me just see him. He's 7,800. So just looking at him, and I'll pull up Lowry for you in a second there, Ron, just to see Knapp though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, took care of the par 5s. Can't really say the same as some of the other stuff like I mentioned before. Like here, he actually, could have made bogey or something on this hole, gained a lot with the putt there. So either way, more than fine with him at 7,800. I think he's a great play. We already looked at Sig. You guys probably want to see Rory. So before I pull up Lowry and Tom Kim, let's do Rory. This is what we saw in round 1 was the 5 birdies, right? Didn't really take fully care of business. I know he left some out there. We talked about there were some really bad holes on approach, right? Losing half a stroke on 1, 2, 3, 4, rounded up 5, almost 5 holes that he lost half a stroke on approach. So it wasn't there in round 1. Round 2, he gets right back to it, gaining almost 2 strokes on approach overall. Really cleaned it up. Only the 1 bad hole on approach, and it did cost him. That was the bogey. But you go back out and look at it, took care of the par 5s as expected. 6 birdies overall. Could have made a birdie here. Maybe there was a streak. Could have made a birdie here. Maybe there was a streak. Could have made birdie. Like there was opportunities out there for him to get more out of that one too. So I know Rory will be popular tomorrow and for good reason. Probably see him somewhere around 30%. So we'll note that. We'll keep going through the list here in a second, but let's pull up some others. You guys don't throw a lot more names out there to look up. I'm not going to do a bunch of them. I want to kind of just do it a little bit different today for you and then keep it moving. But just for the situation, because with the optimizer, it's a little bit tougher to know exactly who's where. But just to look at it, Lowry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, left the par 5 out there, got a streak, gained a 1.43 on approach, 1, 2 holes that weren't great, but 2 that were. So that kind of balances out. So I think you could give him sort of an even, like a 1.4 is about right, I would say. Definitely the putter helped him. But again, really got crushed on this hole and this hole with the putter. So it was kind of out there as well. Round 1 was 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies with the eagle, left the par 5 out there. So how much is Lowry tomorrow? I definitely think he's interesting based on that. 8,700, more than fair price on him. Tom Kim, forget Sung Jae Im. We'll leave him out. This guy crushed us as well. But Tom Kim, 9,500 tomorrow. I know round 1 was a 3 under bogey-free round, right? If we pull that up, I remember that one. He rounded that out. So we had seen that he'd left the par 5 out there. I think he was okay across the board for stats. Like you saw, he left a couple holes out there. But going to round 2 for Tom Kim, 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies, left one of the par 5s out there, gained on approach, even while having 1, 2, 3 pretty bad holes. The putter did help him. He had a couple spike putts there that really popped him up, 2 or 3 of them actually. So that doesn't stick with him tomorrow, then maybe not. But 9,500, I think he's more than fine if you want to go out there and use him tomorrow. It's going to keep it going down the list. Let's see. Anybody else that stands out? Who else is going to be here tomorrow? Like some of these guys, like Victor Perez, 2, 3 strokes with the putter. You know, realistically, it's not the worst. Like he kind of reminds me of, I forget who the guy we looked up earlier was, but like 0.4, cancel out, 2 really bad ones, no super spike ones, but then a pretty good back 9. Overall, again, not sure which side he started on, but just know, I know for a fact actually which side he started on because it cost me the birdie or bogey free if he makes it. So his last hole of the day was 9. I remember that now. And so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birdies, took care of the par 5s. Round 1, he was the guy that had to finish his round off in the morning, if you guys remember from yesterday. So, that's fine. I guess like Max is fine. It's probably more of like the Dunlaps and guys up there, Higos and whatever. I like playing Garrick Higo, especially in Showdown. But after 2 pretty great rounds from him, do I want to go back in round 3 versus take a shot on a guy like Greyersman? So I think it's fine. Grazerman, sorry. But if you go that way, you have to know that there's volatility. And on the stone, you'll see situational stuff like be careful, because it's like, man, is that really going to happen again? So someone like Higo or Grazerman may be guys that you would see get those tags on the stone. So just to keep that in mind. Chris Kirk, still pretty solid. He obviously had a great round 1. We knew about that, but today came right back out and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birdies, left the par 5 out there, really messed it up, lost them with the putter there. And then only really 1 spike hole, but can he go back out and do it again? It's just sort of course he knows, obviously last year's champion. So I'd have no problem going back to a guy like him. Don't see much else. Min Woo, people might want to see. Min Woo, if you were following today, obviously started the round hot. He had that eagle to start. This is another one kind of funny. Like, this guy and Bez was another guy. This is a product of like the opposite effect. So Min Woo Lee got crushed after such a hot start, right? Birdie, a little bogey there, fine. But then, eagle, birdie, a little bogey there, but then eagle, bogey there, but then birdie, and then just got crushed down the stretch. But the fact he got to play this early on was nice. That happened the same for, who was it here that I was just going to look up earlier for you guys? Ricky Fowler. Look at Ricky. Same thing. Eagle, birdie, par, birdie. And then it's like, and then he sucked. But it was, again, this is basically when the weather picked up a little bit. He got the best conditions for that. If you go to Bez, it was the opposite effect. Started super strong. Again, it was more about the conditions than the other side of it. And then what happened was when the weather picked up, it was unfortunate for him. Basically, the minute he knew, I know he made a bogey here as well, but the minute he knew the bear trap was coming up, it was all downhill. And then look at that collapse right there. So it's just the way it goes. That's one thing you do have to keep in mind when you're going throughout it. Fox, we already looked up. Charlie, you can rewind back to Fox. Anybody else that you guys want me to look up there? Minwoo, I just brought up. He was sort of the opposite effect. Again, could he go out and do it again? It's probably a fine play. What's Minwoo's price? Minwoo's 9,000 even. So just a little bit more than Best Buy pricing on him. If you go the other way now, what you can do is also just do this, is go and scan it back to set it up here. And like Bud Cauley, like I said, I won't be going back to him. I can tell you that much. It's fine. Could he do it again? Yes. Like, look at the stats. They're there. I'm just not going to be chasing that. The ones I would like up here were like Eckroat, Yu, Knapp, Rory, Shane are fine. Oh, people might want to look up Cam Young. So round one, we knew what he did. He made all those birdies, and we said, like, that's just going to be fine no matter what. You go look at Cam Young, 10-6 tomorrow. So he'll be a decision. Could end up being a good pivot off Rory, because I think tomorrow we definitely see the bigger Rory ownership when there's no real, I guess I don't see people chasing the weather angle as much tomorrow. And if they were, I think they would see the highest winds of, again, it's about 10 miles per hour max all day. And the morning has a lot of 8 to 10, but the gusts are currently showing up from 8 to 11. And then they just calm down slightly. So what people are going to say is, not only do you get the better guy like Rory playing later, because they're going off threes off of 10 once again, so you won't see Rory till later in the day with his location on the leaderboard, but I think more people would just go there. Now, Cam Young is up there as well, but the price difference, and he's 10-6. You look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies, left 2 of the par 5s out there. Solid on approach, even with a couple pretty bad holes, like one or two, call it, 0.4, 0.25, and 0.21. I mean, there's almost a stroke you get out of there, 0.8 of a stroke there, give or take. So just noticing that, I mean, he's fine tomorrow, and he's right there in the mix. Who's somebody that did not really gain? I was trying to see if there was something else. Like Tom Kim was the best example, I guess, where, again, when people are just scouring this and seeing this leaderboard on stats-wise, they're going to look at it and say, oh, no, he looks horrible. But like I said, when we did the deep dive on him, you could see still made 4 birdies, left a par 5 out there. We know he can do, a little bit more. Even on the first round, he left some out there. And then again, his price tag, a lot less than those other guys. He's at 9,500 versus Cam Young is 10-6 in that example. So just going back to those two, you could definitely do it. And even with, 2 super bad holes, he still was up there in approach. So got no problem going back to a guy like him. Chad Ramey, another guy who had a great round one. And this is what we talk about. These guys that have these incredible round ones, they're hard to back them up. 64 into a 72. Not a great day for him. Dunlap had the hole-in-one. We looked through these guys. I don't know. Anybody have anything else that they want me to look up on here? If you guys do, just let me know. I'll stick around for another minute or two just to see. Benny Ann, a guy I'll pull up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies. Left a couple of the par 5s out there. Really solid. Again, don't remember which side he played first. So let me see here. Let's see. I actually did see today where they added a stat that you could change it to see the wave that they played, but I don't see it right now. So it's probably something they're testing in beta or whatever, but just another way to look at it. But either way, big difference between the 1 to 9 and the 10 to 18 for Benny Ann. Does that mean you can't play him? No. I mean, you look at it here, these 3 holes through the bear trap, right before the bear trap and in the bear trap, those are pretty much what cost him. And he still gained a stroke and a half because of how clean he was on 1 to 9. So just to keep that in mind. Yeah, Knapp, par 5 killer, been that way. I mean, the price tomorrow, he could get popular. 7,800. That's too cheap for him. So again, got to know that stuff and build accordingly. We looked up Grayson Sigg. What about Glover? Kind of like Glover today. Did not come through for me, but left 2 of the par 5s out there. Round 1, the reason we liked him was because he left 2 of the par 5s out there and was bogey free. Even with the 1 bad hole, he still gained. This was a prime example. Let's use Glover. Let's go to Glover for this. One more angle to look at. Again, hopefully this is helpful. It's part of the process. Like, this is what you look up and see, but just want to talk about it. Shout out to my guy, BJ. He's out there always bringing the good mojo. This was the thing about Glover, right? So if you looked at him, the putter definitely didn't cooperate. Like, he lost on so many holes with the putter. Even with the spike hole, it was still bad. Opposite kind of here, where it was like, it was 1 bad hole. So what I said yesterday is a lot of people might have just brushed it off. And it's not that it worked today. It's just to notice how you can find these options is people would have looked at it yesterday. And when they sorted, I'm going to go a couple places for you. When they sorted round 1, Glover is going to be nowhere in sight when people are looking him up. Again, that's why on the fly doesn't work as good as using something like the Stone, where you can actually get these comparisons side by side as you're going down and going throughout. But just to note it, is if you go down, you would have to scroll way down here for Glover. But look, if he doesn't do that, and I know it's an if, but I'm saying if that doesn't happen or not as bad as what happened, he would have been way up the board. And so what ends up happening is you don't see as many people on him in round 2. We go pull up the glove here. Again, did not work out. We're not looking at it from a results-oriented perspective ever. We're looking at it from a process perspective and how you can apply this to the 4 slates a week times 40 events plus on the year. He still left these par 5s out there. He was fine on approach, even with 1, 2, 3 pretty bad approach holes. But look, 1, 2, call it even, 3, 4, 5, 6, call it even, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, call it even. Like 14 of the holes, he was solid on approach. So again, don't be surprised if that continues. And while he did gain with the putter, it was still, look, there was some really horrible holes too that counterbalance that. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6. Like there was some really bad putting still. So that's where you're looking. Is there meat on the bone on a guy like Glover tomorrow? And what's his price? It's $7,400. If you land on him, I would not be mad about plugging a guy like him in and using him. So, all right, I'll go back one more time just so you guys see it. Just to note, so I hope that helped. That's a different way to look at it. We always go through it instead of doing the price tiers and going through and breaking it all down for you guys when it's harder to know exactly who's in, who's out, what we want to talk about, and break it all down the same way. As always, thought I would do it a little bit different this week just to show you guys some of the process going into it. But if you want to alleviate yourself of that process and not need to use it, go join the nation. Get it on all access. If you want a PGA only, you can get it on this. Try it out for the week. Use the stone tonight and tomorrow night. Try it out for the week. If you want to save more money and get it less, basically $1 a day, you can use the code HOOP15. Throw it up there. HOOP15 will get you 15% off. It will lock it in. So you're talking $33 a month, basically $1 a day. You're going to be good to go. You do get the course that I talked about earlier, where we're doing the giveaway for you guys right now. So you can go over to ToeTagginTambo on X, get in the giveaway. All you got to do is like, repost, and follow at SHIPIT Nation, and then get in the draw. But the course has everything. If you don't want to do that, or if you don't win, you can go to SHIPITNation.com. You don't even have to go to Join the Nation or the PGA packages to sign up. You can just go here, put your email, sign up, and get just the showdown. Everything that we talked about today. And then if you want to get access to the stone, you do got to get in. So make sure you guys check that out. Go over. Lots of options. Much more affordable than the rest of the industry when it comes to it, especially for one sport only. But if you do go to the all access, you're going to see sites charging $199 for just one sport, $450 for one sport. You're going to see $500 plus for one sport. You could pay $509 while the code HOOP15 is on and be able to get in all access for the entire year. Hit me up if you guys have more questions on that. That's going to do it for this one, guys. I'm ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.